hello, and welcome to another week with me, Susie Pettit, the host of the Love Your Life show. Today on the show, I have an amazing guest. I have author Kate Christie. Kate is Australia's top time management expert to clients, including L'Oreal, Women in International Security, the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, even the European Union. She is a best-selling author of 5 books, all of which I will link in the show notes. Her 5th book is what we are focusing on today, and it is called The Life List: Master Every Moment and Live an Audacious Life. It is a call to action for women who want more. Our conversation will inspire you no matter your age or stage of life. Her concept, Kate's concept of a life list, is exactly what we're after on the Love Your Life show, and I am so excited for you to listen in. Welcome, Kate, to the Love Your Life show. I am just so thrilled when I'm introduced to people like you. I shared with you a little bit that I heard about you on a podcast, and my interest was captivated in your positivity for life. And then to discover that you have such a vast body of knowledge that I can immerse myself in. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited that you came on the Love Your Life show today. So thank you.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me, Susie. It was so great to have you reach out.
It's super exciting. So for any of my listeners who have not heard of Kate Christie, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started writing books and doing what you're doing?
Sure, yeah. So I started life as a lawyer. I worked for many years as a lawyer. Hated it. I hated the confrontation, but I loved the thinking and the use of your brain and the ability to communicate. And worked for many years. Was a senior executive in corporate, and flying up that corporate ladder. And I then had 3 babies in 3.5 years, and the wheels started to wobble, and as they do, and eventually opted out of my brilliant career because I honestly felt like I could either be a great mum or have a great career. I really felt that I wasn't doing either particularly well, and I obviously chose my kids, and but what I realized pretty quickly after opting out was that I really loved my work. I got a lot of satisfaction from it. A lot of my self-esteem was tied up with my work. And so from there, I started on a path of creating my own business, but really it was all around helping other women find time and have freedom and create space in their lives to live their best life. And so my first 4 books are time management books. I'm a time management coach, and I help men and women organizations, big and small, be as productive as possible so that they can live their best lives. And from that, I guess I got to the point where, well, now you've got your time back. What are you going to do with it? Let's create a life list. Let's do some awesome stuff, because we only live once, right? As far as we know. And we have to live a magnificent life, which is so consistent with your message around your podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I know listeners, it's like, hey, isn't she a perfect guest? And they right now are like, wait, time management expert? And so, yes, I will have links to your other books and your website and how to find you in the show notes at smbwell.com/251. So we will get there because it is, I heard you say once that you were like in the middle of something happened and your son was crying all over you, or your daughter was crying all over you. You got to the boardroom and you realized you were the only one there without a full-time wife, or it's like, okay. And I think that's very relatable.
Yeah, it's, this is it. Like, I think as working women, working mums, a lot of the time, we've all got that backstory, haven't we? We've all got that guilt. We've all got those stories where we didn't turn up as our best selves because of what we carried into work with us. And I think the more we can just let our guard down and discuss that and share that we're not particularly perfect, and there's plenty that we're not proud of as working women, as working mums, it makes it easier for everyone else. Often when I relate that story, and I have so many people will come up to me afterwards and share their own
Mm.
moment of parental pride or non-pride, at having forgotten something. We've all forgotten to pick the kids up from school on occasion. It happens.
Or we know and we're like running late and we just choose to, yeah, it's just an awful, the mother guilt is awful. And I do think the greatest remedy is to pull it out of the darkness and normalize it. And my expression is like, pour love on us all, because we're all doing the best we can. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you do that. And I currently am diving into your current book, The Life List. And I am passionate about teaching women tips and tools to live a life they love. And this idea of this book is wonderful. And can you give us a little bit about what got you into writing this book that is sort of a departure from the time management?
Yeah, sure. So I guess it was a sort of an intersection of a number of things that were occurring. Obviously we, as a global community, had come through COVID, and I think that that's been a time of huge transformation for many of us in terms of thinking about how we want to live a very different life. On top of that, I had turned 50, and I was in that time of personal transformation, with menopausal women, and my children are older and they don't need me as much, and they haven't quite empty nested, but they don't need me all the time. And then on top of that, my ex-husband, who I'd been separated from for only a handful of years, got very, very sick as we came into COVID. So I think COVID hit March 2020. April 2020, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and 11 months later, he had passed away.
Mm.
And he was only 54, and it was in every way as brutal as you could possibly imagine. Having to experience that as someone who had loved him for we were married for 22 years, and we had 3 beautiful children, and having to kind of nurse my children through that, watching the deterioration and the death of their father. And they were grieving his loss before he was even gone. And it was horrific. And it's only been 2 years since we lost him. But in many respects, it was, I think, part of the legacy of that. And then in writing the book was that very genuine realization for me that life is too short. And look, it's trite, it's an expression we all use. And but it was really very much a real brutal awakening for me. I turned 53 2 weeks ago. And so, in some respects, if I was to get ill like he did, I've got a year to live. And so I wanted to write the life list personally as a sort of a personal reflection in terms of the breakdown of our marriage, and then his illness and losing him, but then how that created a resolution in me that I really just want to live my best life now. So the concept of a life list is, it's the exact opposite of a bucket list. A bucket list is, what do I want to do before I die? And it generally is a list of, travel destinations and adventures. And a life list is very much a call to action for women like us to say, hey, listen, life is too short. You only live once. Don't leave it till later. Don't leave all this awesome stuff till later, because later just might be too late. And so I created my own life list, and then I wanted to share it with other women to help them create a life list and give them the spark to realize that, we all have a backstory. We all have our loss and our sadness and our grief and our trauma and whatever that may be. But it's very important to understand that our backstory doesn't dictate our future story. We get to design that, and that's what this book's all about.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, all of it. I had an experience with death in my mid-30s that sparked me into this. The whole idea of my show, the Love Your Life show, was I wanted to say, like, don't just love your life when you're on vacation or when everything's going well. It's like, love your day-to-day life. The program I run is called Finding Joy in Everyday Life. Like, let's not put it off. Let's not, when I'm 70, I mean, I had a lot of money. I don't know what it taken from me during my divorce by my biological father and my dad, and that I had been saving and saving for that rainy day, and then went away, close to $500,000. And it's that, like, oh, okay. So I was like, what's the point of that? Like, if I'm not, so why am I saving it for this rainy day and saving my life adventures for a rainy day or saving any of it for a rainy day?
Anything, saving
And
anything for a rainy day,
yeah.
yeah.
And I really appreciate that. So I just, any listener or any woman who's out there listening, I just really encourage you, no matter where you are, whether you are in your 50s like us, and we're sort of in that, I heard it's this stage of our lives where, like with our progesterone going down, our people pleasing tendencies, we're just like, who cares? And you
I
speak
know.
to that beautifully in the book. But even if you're in
Up to
your
the hand.
30s or wherever you are, whatever age your kids are, wherever you are in your career, that like, let this be the moment to think, like, is this the life you want to be living?
Yeah.
And to get started there. I really
Yeah, absolutely. And it always amazes me, I guess, because I've always been very goal oriented and very goal driven. And, it amazes me some of the women that I work with when they haven't been goal setters, but I'm so amazed and impressed by their success because what they do is that they seize opportunities as it arises. And I admire that so much. But then on top of that, I say to them, well, hey, imagine what else, imagine what more, imagine how much
Mm,
more joy and success and freedom you could achieve if on top of the awesomeness you've seized, you were to create goals and actually go after those goals. It's so important that we do that. And as women, I think there's this overlay where, mm, generally speaking, we're nurturers. We, whether or not we choose that role, or society dictates the role, regardless of how it occurs, we are often givers. We're people pleasers, but we're certainly givers and we're nurturers. And if you think about your relationships with your friends and your siblings, your children, your partner, your work colleagues, we're kind. We're giving, and this book is a little bit of a sort of a stop sign to say, hey, just pause. It's okay to be a giver, and that's all really wonderful. But what about you? And
mm,
it's very much. I feel it's our turn. I honestly feel it's my turn. I've given and I've given and I've given, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to stop giving, and it doesn't mean I'm going to love my kids any less, and it doesn't mean I'm not going to love my family any less. But I'm elevating myself to a
mm,
higher level
mm.
where I'm going to be filling my cup a little bit more often these days.
For sure. I mean, you speak to that so well in the book too, about how, your priorities, and you were very much at the bottom of your priority list. And that is something I think that will resonate with listeners and future readers. And it definitely did with me too. This idea, I mean, of self-sacrifice and martyrdom and slaying and, like just that sort of false
Yeah.
nobility we get from being like, yeah, I'm so tired, so I'm
Yeah.
doing it forever. And
The
it's just,
selflessness that we
yeah.
perpetuate. And I'm certainly not being critical of us because I'm talking about myself here.
Mm,
I'm not criticizing the fact that we do it. I'm just asking ourselves to go into the room of mirrors and just
yeah.
have a really good hard look, because ultimately you are going to turn up as a better person, a more fulfilled, happier giver to all those people around you if your own cup is full first.
Mhm.
And I'm better for it when I prioritize myself and I go off and do my hike with my girlfriends for a week, or I don't drop everything for someone screaming my name. If I do prioritize myself, I'm a better person for it, and I turn up happier. I'm since writing this book and forcing myself to write the life list and chase down these goals and tick them off
Mm,
one by one, I'm feeling really bloody great. And
yeah.
it's good. I'm happy and I'm turning up in a better way for the people around me.
I think that is so important for listeners to hold on to, because we are indoctrinated in this, like, put yourself last, and if we are mothers, that is almost necessary in the beginning, because human babies need, I mean, we have the ability to feed babies through our bodies, and we, like, it's almost necessary. Yet then we need to step back into that place of taking care of ourselves. And that is when I see people successfully moving through sort of the young age to the preteen to the teen to the of parenting, it is those women who start to return back to themselves and reclaim the selfish title. I call it soulfish, but I heard you say it, like, let's be.
I love that. Yeah. I talk about that in the book as well. Let's just be a little bit more selfish.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's not only okay, but like from a child development expert, it's actually really good for the kids that we are modeling a model of adulthood that isn't misery and awful. Like I know that I was talking to one of my sons once, and we were talking about his future, and he's like, so what do I want to just like work and be miserable like dad? And it's like, right, like, yeah, I know. And it's like, no, actually, like, let's show like what adulthood can be like. And these messages of like, this is the time of your life, really. And they don't feel like it's a time in their life because it's tumultuous in their heads. But for us to model some of that self-care and selfishness as important and that we matter. Not only then we often are not over fixated on the other people in our lives.
Yeah, exactly. It's important, and it's good for our souls, and it's just a really nice way to live. I'm feeling a lot more balanced, and I am enjoying writing about it. I'm enjoying sharing the stories, but I think more importantly for me, I'm loving that women who are reading the book are then emailing me and they're messaging me saying, hey, this is on my life list and this is what I'm going to do for me, and I've created a life list and I'm excited. It's incredibly I'm incredibly grateful for that, but it's a really powerful message for me to sort of actually understand that there was a reason why I wrote this book, and it's very much to help other women, and it's a wonderful feeling. Yeah.
So what could you say to the listener who is like, okay, Kate, I'm in, and like, I haven't been a goal setter, and that idea sort of paralyzes me, but I'm so frigging tired and busy.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah. So it's, and this is, I guess, where I put my time management hat on, and we need to actually go back to the basics where people will often ask you, what are your values? What do you value? And I think it's a good question, but I think it's the wrong question. I think when it comes to time and making time for ourselves and setting goals, the question you need to be asking yourself is, what do I most value? Because once you understand exactly what it is in your life that you most value, then it gives you laser-like clarity over what you should say yes to and what you should say no to. So a really quick way to work out what you most value, ask yourself 3 questions. The first question is, when I'm with my best friends, what do I love talking about? And write a big long list of what you love talking about. Second question, if I was really sick, what would I get out of bed for? And write a long list. Third question is, think about that person in your life who you really love and admire and respect. If they were to compliment you, what would you love for them to say about you? And write a list. Then take a red pen and put a circle around any common answers. And that's going to give you a starting point to realize what it is you most value. So when I do that exercise, I come up with 3 things. You may come up with 8 or 10 or 15. I've got 3. My kids and my sisters and my dad. So my inner circle family, my business, and my health and well-being. And that's it. So I build my day, my week, my month, my year around my kids, my family, my business, and my health and well-being. And everything else becomes a really simple no. Once you've got clarity over what it is you most value, then you stop spreading yourself so thin. And so when people say to me, look, I'm really busy, I'm tired, I just can't cut through the white noise, that's an exercise I take them through just to still their brain and to give them real clarity over what it is they most value. Because once you've got that, then you say yes to those things, you say no to everything else. And that's okay, because you're still honoring what you most value. You're then going to start to realize you've actually got all the time in the world that you need. And then you create that list, your life list. And those goals that you create will also be very consistent with the things you most value. So all of my goals on my life list are around my family, my business, and my health and well-being. because you want to have a life list, a list of goals that are very consistent with what it is you most value. I'm not going to put I'm not going to put goals on there that are completely at odds or counter to my values. What's the point? That's just a waste of money.
Right. And I just want to say to listeners, like, you have to get this book, because you do, and I'm not just saying this to like pump you up, but you do an expert job in here of walking through how to do the life list, like and prioritizing it with rules. And I don't want to make it seem heavy, because it actually, like, for me, I really like it because it's like little steps at a time. And then I can actually do it, instead of just like, okay, Susie, sit down and write 100 things that you want to do in your life. Or like, you very much tie it to those values. And with the rule component of, one of my rules and one of your rules is like that excitement, like it has to bring joy. Like there's just nothing on that list that comes out sort of from this sneaky place of our programming of like, well, I should do this, or everyone says I should jump out of a helicopter. So it's
like, what the hell? I don't want anything on my life list which is going to hasten my death. I'm not swimming with sharks, folks. It's not happening.
Rid of that. Like, that's not. And so I really like your book it just really does that well. I would love for you, I think this is a good segue to talk about your connection with the word moment, because that just tickles, like, I just love it. It's been coming up everywhere.
Oh, great. I love that you say that. So I guess as a time management expert, that I use the word moment a lot. Give me a moment, give me a moment. It's always with my kids, give me a moment. And one day I was just fiddling around. I thought, I wonder what the word moment actually means. So I Googled it, and I found out that it has 3 different meanings. It's a homonym, and I love that. So the first meaning is that it is actually a unit of time. It's 90 seconds. It's exactly 90 seconds. So like a minute is 60 seconds, a moment is 90 seconds. And it comes from the 5th century. And
I never knew that.
So cool. I know. And so, next time you say, give me a moment, you're actually asking for 90 seconds. So that tickled my fancy big time. The second definition of the word moment is it's in physics, it's a unit of force. So when anything rotates on a hinge, so like a door opening on a hinge or a seesaw on a hinge, that rotation on the hinge is called a moment. I'm thinking, oh my God, I love this. And then the third definition is it's a unit of energy. So when there's an earthquake, the way that scientists measure the power of the earthquake is through the momentum magnitude scale. They used to have the old Richter scale. It's now the momentum magnitude scale. And I put them together and I thought, my God, imagine if you combined those 3 definitions and you took 90 seconds to open a brand new door in your life to create earth-shaking power. And it blew me away. And then I started thinking about it more, and I thought, if I just take 90, rather than kind of having this huge goal of climbing the mountain and it feels too big and too audacious and too hard and I won't do it, if I just bite it off in 90-second pieces and I just take a 90-second step and a 90-second step, and then I realized that once I take those steps, I've got momentum. The word moment is in the word momentum. And I'm like, holy shit. And then I realized that by doing that, I could create something momentous. And it's there again. So moment has become my favorite word in the world. I think of everything now in terms of moments, because we can do a lot in 90 seconds. There's a lot of brand new doors we can open in 90 seconds to create earth-shaking power and to give ourselves the momentum we need to live this momentous, crazy, awesome life.
Yes.
It's so easy to remember that and just think of the word moment, and it makes me smile, and it makes me actually get up off the couch and take those steps to get stuff done.
I just absolutely love it. I do a lot with like habits and sort of brain patterns, and that, like, knowing that to start something new, we need to start small. And I've always said small steps, but or like, I'll actually use hinges. I'm like, small hinges move big doors. But with the idea of like, if you don't exercise, if you're like, every day I'm going to go to the gym, it's like, how about we just say, like, you're going to walk for 5 minutes? It's like, you just start small. But this idea of really clarifying the moment, I would really like listeners to take a hold of it, because I've been using it lately. I'm like, okay, all I need is 90 seconds. Like, I just need that 90 seconds to, maybe I'm sitting on the couch doing something, and I know that I have an email I want to write. It's like, okay, I just need 90 seconds of that energy to pivot what I'm doing, like to just, and then sure enough, bringing physics back in motion, back into play, like a body in motion stays in motion. So I'm up, I've changed and then I'm doing an email, and then, oh, look, now I'm doing, it's just this like, and then
you've created momentum.
I love it.
Because momentum, for something to have momentum, it has to be in motion. It's mass in motion. So we are mass. So for us to have momentum, we have to be in motion. And if we think about it in terms of those 90-second segments, there's a lot we can do. You can change your life in 90 seconds.
Yes. And people who are like, oh, no, you can't. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. Like when we look back at the past and all the small steps we took and take, that absolutely does it. So yay, thank you. I love the idea of momentum, momentous. I might get a tattoo on it. We'll be in a race.
I know. I talk about it. I talk about it in the book, saying I'm going to get it tattooed. And I think, oh, maybe not.
Say go for it. So say listeners are like, okay, I want to do it. Like, where's my moment? That, like, what do I need to do aside from getting your book? Like, what would you, get their book. That's what I'm telling people to do. That's get on. You can get it wherever. If I got it here in Australia, you can get, I know you are an Australian author, but sometimes I have a hard time getting books here, and I got it, came easily. So get the book. And then what would you say is the next step?
So the next step is to, I think, recognize that you deserve it. You've got permission. It's okay to actually think about what you want this next part of your life to look like. We are in a wonderful stage of our lives where we get to design the next step, and that's magnificent. And you can do that at any age. So I would, embrace it with that sense of real optimism and permission. And then from that, print out the Life List Planner. You can get that for free on my website. I know, Susie, you've just grabbed yours. Yeah. So print it out, and then, indulge yourself, light some candles, put some music on, curl up in your favorite chair, and write down your list of everything it is you want to do while you're still young enough to enjoy it. It's not just travel and adventure. I talk about 7 life list chapters. So it's across your health, your wealth, your lifestyle, giving, your relationships. So, big and small, put it in there, set some rules. As you say, my rules include it has to be exciting. It's got to be outside my comfort zone, preferably. I want it to be new. A lot of my things I want to experience are new. I also have defined, I talk about different types of goals. We have the go big, crazy, climb the mountain kind of goals. We have the go small goals. You have to have lots of those really lovely, joyful, life affirming moments that you talk about, Susie, in your everyday, that fall outside of business as usual. And then probably the most challenging for me in terms of the goals are the go now goals, are those spontaneous, take the opportunity, seize it and jump. I'm a planner. I love being in control. I love knowing what I'm doing. And so for me, those have been the challenging ones to kind of seize the moment. But I'm loving it. It's really great.
Yes. So I hear listeners, sometimes there's like a fear of, oh my gosh, like, how do I even start? But also a fear of like, what if I put those things down and I need to do it? And that's where I would just encourage listeners to return to the word moment. And we just need to spend 90 seconds. Maybe your 90 seconds of momentum right now is to order the book. And then you get the book and you put it on your calendar. I'm going to read the first chapter. And now I'm going to read the second chapter. And you just take one step at a time. Then it builds, and we can meet Kate on her Facebook page and all that sort of stuff and share away. But to not let that sort of future fear or discomfort stop us, to dive into the moment.
Exactly.
90 seconds.
We've got to recognize that there will be things that we're fearful of, and recognize that there will be things that we lack. I talk about them as the resisting forces. There's the fear bucket. There's going to be potentially fear of failure, or even fear of success, fear of being judged by others around you. And then there's lack, lack of time, lack of money, lack of resources. Um, I help you in the book. We flush all those out so that you can understand what may or may not get in your way. But start small and approach it with this sense of love and of acknowledging that you deserve it. It really is our turn.
Yeah. Yeah. And just that, like what you and I both know is that having some sort of purpose in something you're moving forward makes you feel better. So if people are feeling overwhelmed or flat or exhausted, like this actually, it's not something else to do. It is like it's that like pivot. You're switching focus to something that is going to light you up. I mean, I just love like the colors you chose, everything about it. I'm like, yes, it is. Let's go.
And it doesn't have to be the huge, audacious climb the mountain. It could be the walk around the block.
Mhm.
As long as it is your choice and it's going to bring you joy and it's going to give you the sense of momentum that you're moving yourself in the right direction, then you're winning.
For sure. Yay. Okay. Well, I'm quite sure that my listeners, after listening to you, they're going to get the book for sure, but they're going to want to hear a little more about your personal life list and where can we read more about your adventures and stay up to date and find more Kate. They're going to love your accent.
Tap into me on Facebook under Kate Christie. I'm sure Susie will put it in the show notes. My website is katechristie.com.au, and you can sign up for my blog on there, which is all about the adventures and what I'm doing next, and the life that I'm choosing to lead and to live it with real joy. My next adventure, I'm off to Bali in July for 7 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I'm going to live and write out of Bali. I'm going to explore the beautiful island. I'm escaping Melbourne's winter. I'm living my best life, and it's amazing.
All right. So listeners, like join in, band in, together we rise. It is that you speak in the book about a cheer squad. And it's just when we see other people doing this and hearing Kate give us permission to be more selfish or soulfish, however you want to, like, this is our time. However, whatever your age is, you're listening to this for a reason, and let's go get it. Thank you, Kate, for joining us today.
Thanks, Susie. It was absolutely delightful.